Okay, so let's look at number 1. It says find two positive and two negative coterminal angles for the following. So if I'm wanting to find a positive and a negative, I can look at it like a number line where I want 1 to the right of 0 and 1 to the right or left of 0. So if I'm looking at 330, which is probably about here, I can start adding and subtracting increments of 360 degrees. The reason why we're doing 360 is because one complete revolution around the unit circle is 360 degrees. So let's go to our calculator just real quick, and we're going to start at 330. And we subtract 360 incrementally, so we'll say negative 30 minus 360. So we get negative 30 and negative 390. And again, let's say instead of subtracting increments of 360, we're now going to add increments of 360. So we'll go back to the calculator, and we'll say 330 plus 360, and then we'll say 690 plus 360 again. So we get 690 and 1050. So 690 and 1050. And it wants us to find just two positive and two negative. So you can use as far as 330, but you can't say that it's coterminal with itself. Thus, that's why we jump one full jump to the right of 360 in order to get 690, and another jump of 360 in order to get 1050. So we'll say the two positive answers would be 690 degrees and 1050, and then the two negative are going to be the ones that were to the left. So to the left of 0 per se, and this one's going to be negative 30 and negative 390. Remember, these are the degrees that you will coterminate at the same point. So let's visually see what this looks like. So 300 degrees would travel all the way here, because we know to this line here is 270. And then we're going to go just a little bit, actually, going to go to about right there, which is going to terminate at 330. Okay, because you still have that 30 degrees left in order to complete the 360 revolution. So we are here. So what we're saying with these positive and negative coterminals is if I were to travel a negative 30, I would end up at the same location of those starting at 330 degrees. And if I were to travel this negative 360 plus a negative 30 to get a negative 390, I would coterminate at the same spot. Okay, you're going to do the same thing, only instead of adding and subtracting increments of 360 when we're in radians, we're going to be adding, or when we're in degrees, we're going to be adding and subtracting increments of 2 pi to get those in radian form. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the calculator with 5 pi over 6. So control divide, we're going to do 5, pressing the pi button down here on the bottom left. It's going to be over 6. That's where we're going to start, and we're going to add increments of, let me go up there and get my answer, add increments of 2 pi. And just press enter, don't press control enter, and this would be 17 pi over 6, and then if we added 2 pi again, we would get 29 pi over 6. Okay, so 29 pi over 6. So these are the two positive ones, and now we're going to do the two negative ones. Okay, so let me box that for positive. Let's go ahead and do negative. So we are going to start off at the 5 pi over 6, and we're going to subtract, go ahead and do that, 5 pi over 6, and this time we're going to subtract 2 pi. So minus 2 pi, we'll get negative 7 pi, and if we go and press enter and copy it and subtract 2 pi again, we're going to get negative 7 and negative 19. So negative 7 and negative 19 pi over 6, pi over 6, and those would be the two negatives. Now, we will look at what we were just doing with the calculator, and now reminding you right now that we will do these without a calculator. We need to work with our fractions. We need to work with our fractions, especially with the radian forms. So over here with the 330, that's pretty basic, because you're just going to add increments of 360 in order to get the 690. Then you do 690, add 360 in order to get the 1050. Again, we're going to do this without a calculator. I just wanted to show you what the answers are going to look like. And now we need to get practice with making sure we can actually do this without a calculator. So if I have 5 pi over 6, and I'm going to add 2 pi, common denominators are required when adding or subtracting fractions. So I'm going to multiply it by a form of 1, which is 6 over 6. So now this right here becomes 12 pi over 6. We have 5 pi over 6. And when we add, we would get 5 pi plus 12 pi, which is 17 pi over 6, which is what you got right here for your first one. So now let's real quick practice subtracting, and then you'll get the gist of this. So we have 5 pi over 6, and now we're going to be subtracting a full unit circle revolution of 2 pi. Yet again, we need to multiply by a form of 1 in order to get these common denominators. Again, that's only when adding or subtracting fractions. And this right here would become 12. So we have 5 pi minus 12 pi all over 6, which is going to give you that negative 7 pi over 6. And then you just do it again in order to get the other two answers.